Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about The Watch. This is specifically a continuation of my review of the game The Watch, which is a Powered by the Apocalypse game made by Anna Kreider and Andrew Medeiros. And in this section, I'm going to be specifically talking about Playbooks and how the Watch deals with Playbooks, which is a specific game TRPG game component of PBTA, Powered by the Apocalypse games. Okay, so basically, The Watch is a really, really unusual game. I'll just define it for you real quick. It is a tabletop role-playing game that is essentially a low fantasy game. But the thing that's really unique about it, that I have never seen in any other tabletop role-playing game, is it allows every single gender to be played except cis male and trans male. Right, so those two genders are not really allowed, but then you are allowed to play cis woman, trans woman, fluid, non-binary, and genderqueer. Okay, all right. So I'm specifically reviewing this game because I read it in depth, and the reason why is it's, like I said, it's just truly unique, and I think it's historically significant because it's the first game to really dig in to really have that structure. I've never seen anything like it. All right, so let me talk a little bit about the game, and so one of the things that's really absolutely specific to the game are the clans. So this game is essentially low fantasy. It's structured. They structure the game essentially like it's essentially Viking themed, right? It is in a non-specific world, and it is Viking themed, and so all the player characters come from one of the following clans. They come from Thason. Thason is herders and equestrians. They come from Morsh, which are traders. They come from Sharn, which are hunters and gatherers. They come from Charsa, which are miners. They come from Taltho, which are craftsfolk and farmers. They come from Dothos, which are mystics. They come from Rikti, which are nomads. They come from Thedon, which are builders and masons. They come from Mothis, which are rugged mountaineers types, right? And last, they come from Royshan, which are warriors, right? Now, I want to talk about the clans for a minute. There is a lot to take away from The Watch, right? I really feel it's a game that should be read by every game master. Especially if you're a game master who runs any type of fantasy game, right? I love the way The Watch, when you look at the clans, you see a really tight, unique structure for a for essentially a Viking society, right? And how, and basically if you look at those clans, each one of those clans, you should be able to get story hooks out of them, right? And if you look at the clans in total, you see, you really are looking at the cultural and societal structures of what the Viking society look like. And, and again, if you just look at those clans and you look at what they specialize in, that's a really tight structure for the society overall. So I think there's some significant takeaways there. Let's talk about the playbook specifically. So, now basically we did talk about overall, the structure of those clans. Within those clans, right, the player characters are going to be specifically playing different types of classes, right? And the classes in this game are very different, right? They break down into the following structures. So there's bear, eagle, fox, lioness, owl, raven, spider, and wolf. And they each have specific things that they do. Like, for instance, the spider is a healer, right? But the playbooks themselves actually give you the abilities that are going to be had by each one of those specific class options for player characters. So for your player character, you're choosing your clan, and then you're also choosing your class, which determines your playbook choice. Okay, your playbook choice break down into the following. So Bears are they when they talk to you within the playbooks, they give you an overarching, almost like the demeanor for each one of those classes, right? So bears are very overprotective. They're bold. The lionesses are charming and daring. The owls are clever. They give advice, right? And they will give advice whether it's wanted or not, right? The spiders are very enigmatic. They're fearless. They're the closest thing there is in this game to a cleric. And also, you won't hear me say, oh, this class is a fighter, because fighter is kind of spread across each one of these specific classes. The wolves are, the wolf, which is, again, a specific class, is very aggressive and loyal. And then the ties that bind, I'm sorry, excuse me. The eagle is vain. They leap into danger. The fox is strange and mystical, right? And last, the raven actually has divine connections, and they're magnanimous, right? They're a very magnanimous group. So even when you look at classes, right, the fact that the classes are being defined in this specific way just shows you how Anna Kreider is really approaching these classes in this game. This game really approaches, classes not just from you're going to get 2 attacks or you're going to be able to heal, or it allows some of those functionalities to be spread, like fighting is spread across almost all of them. Spiders really are the clerics, and ravens essentially almost are like oracles in many ways, right? And then I would say that the owls essentially are almost like like sages, right? But almost all the other classes are fighter types that really range very dramatically in how they fight, right? Which you also see that in Dungeons and Dragons. A ranger and a fighter and a barbarian are all, just 3 different types of fighters with really distinct differences in skills, right? I want to just talk. So that's the structure of the playbooks, right? And I really liked how the demeanors are just kind of tied right into the playbook. And also I think that really gets to the point of clans, and how if you live in a clan structure, there's going to be some conformity within that. I think there's a recognition that there's going to be some conformity within that structure, right? So within the playbooks, there's lots of there's lots of selections which you check off, right? So you check off for gear, for ranks, and for moves. So on the playbooks, you're checking off, I want this gear, I want this rank, I want this move. That's another thing. Ranks are actually dealt with in this game. Man, that is really a very, very cool aspect of the watch. The fact that ranks are actually put into the game. I honestly wish this was in Dungeons and Dragons, where so often I want to say to the players, who's the leader of your group, right? Especially non-player characters. They don't like, non-player characters aren't going to interact with a group without a leader in a very natural way. But generally, players are very hesitant to put a hierarchical structure. So I love that that's actually built into the watch, right? And so also, and then also, once you have your playbook, that tells you how you're going to branch for your experiences. Advances are earned from the playbooks themselves. And then your moves are also, come from your playbook, which I think is a really cool structure. And it's very well executed within the watch. I really liked it a lot. The playbook illustrates one character. It illustrates one person. Some of the so essentially the playbooks are really well done here. I do think the playbooks, the way they're presented within the watch, they really needed better layout. Especially the layout was not strong. I thought the art was good in this game, but the layout actually I found was a little lacking overall. But overall, if you're looking at just playbooks alone, I think the watch has the best execution on creating compelling, concise clear playbooks of any PBTA game I've read since Dragon World. I'm sorry, Dungeon World, since Dungeon World, which is of course done by Sage Latora and Adam Cobell, and to me is really the reason that PBTA succeeded. Now, why do I say that? Essentially, D. Vincent Baker created PBTA by creating Apocalypse World, but essentially what he did was, like, D. Vincent Baker crafted a David statue, specifically the rules in the game design, and then he buried it in his backyard. And then Sage Latora came and, so essentially and the reason why he did that was Apocalypse World the setting is virtually unplayable by the vast majority of TRPG players, because when it comes to like gore, it's worse than any slasher flick, and it's essentially NC-17 rated, right? So I think D. Vincent Baker hid this beautiful, beautiful rules system in one of the worst possible settings that you could attach that rules systems to, right? So he crafted this David statue, right, with his own pure rules genius, right? But then he buried it in his backyard, essentially by putting it into Apocalypse World. And then I think Sage Latora and Adam Cobell came and exhumed that David statue, brushed it off, cleaned it up, polished it, and then put it on display at Gen Con. And I think, and so Sage Latora and Adam Cobell are the reason why PBTA games are out there, and one of the reasons why the Watch is out there. And again, if you're a game master, I think the Watch is an absolute buy and an absolute read. It's a historically important tabletop role-playing game. That's my take, and that's what I think of the overall playbook structure for the Watch. Thank you very much.